Hey, how's it going, everybody? So I figured I would just make a video to answer some questions that a lot of people still message me about dealing with law school. So to get to the chase, is it worth going to law school? How do you calculate that? Well, what I usually say to every single person is it's really not worth going unless it's free or basically near free. And how do you get to that point? Well, you get to that point by looking for a school that offers you scholarships, a full ride, and typically that means that you're going to have a GPA that's 3.6, 3.7 or higher. You're going to have an LSAT, starting if you're looking at, schools just past 100, you're going to want to have, at least a 163 to start. Looking at schools in that arena that would, offer you such rides, and allow the people who have money to pay your tuition. Let alumni and all the other law students who have money pay that. There's no reason that you shouldn't be going toward that. There's going to be plenty of people who will pay whatever they want to pay to get into law school. Their families, lawyers, they have money, whatever. They're going to drive up in their Benz or Mercedes or Aston Martin, whatever, and they'll pay the law school tuition because they're going to follow family business. There's no reason that you have to if you put in the time to your studies and dedicate yourself to doing well, and that means just do really well with your classes. Focus on things which allow you to get a higher GPA, and focus on getting a good LSAT, which means taking a good amount of time to study and usually taking a test prep class. In my experience, the ones that are higher end, like Test Masters, maybe Princeton Review, are good ones to look at. And the amount of time that you put into it, familiarizing yourself, I mean, that's all going to lead to your long-term success. And that's just reality. You're not going to get scholarships of that nature without having some weight behind you. And where you need to fill in gaps, you can always look to civic clubs, Rotary, things like that. Look to your local city, look to anybody in your area, businesses that may give certain types of scholarships. See whatever it is. Maybe it's based on your family's ties to something. Maybe it's based on race. There's minority scholarships. Maybe it's based on service. There's things that you can always look for opportunities to get funding for law school. Some places even have a scholarship housing option too. It's really just about whether or not you're going to come out of law school debt-free, and really that's the quality of life. Because you're really not going to enjoy your life if a lot of your salary is being eaten up by your debt, by possibly undergrad debt too. And even if you're making a lot of money, a lot of these people who are quoting themselves as having big salaries, take a look at A, how many hours they're working a week, and B, where they're living. You're going to find consistently that the people who are making these higher six-figure salaries starting out working in big cities. How many hours are they driving or taking a train or some bullcrap to get to work? Are they getting up at 4 or 5 a.m. every day just so they can make it to the law office, coming home at 7:30? They're working 70, 80, 90, 100 hours each week, which, as we like, perfectly fine. But if you're only like, law school's pretty fun, or it's enjoyable, but I wouldn't want to do it 100 hours a week, you're just setting yourself up for failure. That's a big problem, especially even at top-end schools, because if you didn't do so well, or maybe you wanted to practice in an area that doesn't pay as high. There are people, even in top law schools, that want to be in the PD's office first. Maybe they want to be a prosecutor. Those $40,000, $50,000, maybe $60,000 a year salaries, unless you're like San Francisco, they freaking pay their prosecutors and PDs out the butt. You're not going to be starting off that high, and you're going to hate it. And even if you're getting the money that you need, you're never going to have time to spend it. And then you're going to be trying to keep up with the Joneses. If there's other attorneys and you're trying to dress nice so you can look good, move up, have a nice car so you look credible. That's unfortunately a lot of the lawyering stuff is superficial. And very often, if you're a litigator or you're someone who's practicing in criminal court, you're trying to make yourself look a certain way. Have an appeal of credibility. There are a lot of other expenses, and people just are not privy to the calculations that they need to make on what their quality of life is going to be. What did you have to do to get to that point? What do you have to do to maintain it? And that's another thing too. Something I think is always funny. You have to pay your bar fees. I had to pay $460 just to maintain my license, even though I barely used it. I mean, I did it internship after. I've done some things on my own, as an individual lawyer. But if you're like, oh my gosh, it's the worst thing ever, and you have a career change, it's like, oh man, you can't really practice law unless you keep that up. You have to do certain CLEs, you have to do certain types of seminars. There's a lot that goes on after the fact. It doesn't just end. There's a lot that you have to consider that's going to be taken up out of your time. And back in the day, it was always just not an issue. If you worked for a firm kind of thing, they would pay your way, send you off, fly you out to whatever you need to do to learn and get your credentials. But in my experience, people that are making those big salaries, if you look at the actual hours they're working, it ain't that big anymore. So that's really the ultimate question, is where this boils down to. What's your quality of life? If you're going to hate your life, why are you doing it? There's no reason that you can't set the bar high for yourself and work toward that goal and do whatever it takes to get that goal. You have a sucky undergrad GPA, go get a master's degree. Go get a 3.89, 4.0, whatever you need to do to patch that up. It's a 3-year decision plus the bar exam, potentially 6 figures plus worth of debt in the line. Why wouldn't you make that initial investment? So that's kind of my short on, should I go to law school? It's really about whether or not you're going to enjoy it, and then your quality of life after. And there's no reason to put yourself at the bottom by being like, oh my gosh, like I need to just study for the LSAT really quick, and then you don't do as well as you hoped. You're like, man, my options are not that great. Well, you're going to have a lot of debt hanging over you, and it's going to be eating away at whatever you're making because of that interest if you're not paying it all off right away. It's scary, but that $100,000 could easily turn into $200,000 or $300,000, depending on who your lender is. So, all right, thanks everybody for listening to this long, drawn-out analysis. I've been so busy lately doing actually fun stuff. Was at a convention just recently for cosplay. Was dressed up as Mr. Fantastic. See, now that's a lifestyle I can enjoy. Been working at other businesses, basically helping to revamp businesses that are in trouble, you might say. So that's been a lot of fun. But it's about what you enjoy at the end of the day, and if it's not making you happy, then why are you going to do it? All right, thanks everybody. Take care. Talk to you later.